morning, boys and girls. So, another week has gone by. The sun is nice and shining, the trees are out, and the weather is getting better, but there's always time for a story. So, today I found a story called The Song and Dance Man. Now, sometimes when you look at stories, you find out about how people used to live and what things that they used to do. That's kind of a bit like this story. So let's find out about the Song and Dance Man. Grandpa was a song and dance man who once danced on the vaudeville stage. Now, the vaudeville stage, gotta tell you a little bit about that, is before there was movie theaters, people would go to a place like a movie theater with the stage there, and they would watch different shows, but not shows on the screen. They would watch shows of people, like people dancing, people singing, anything along that line. And that's what Grandpa used to do. So he used to work and dance on the stage as a professional dancer. When we visit, he tells us about a time before people watched TV. In the good old days, he used to say, the song and dance days. And there's Grandpa telling his kids about the song and dance days before TV. Supper in an hour, Grandma calls from the kitchen. I wonder if my tap shoes still fit, Grandpa says with a smile. Then he turns on a light in the attic, and we follow him up the stairs to the attic. Whoa, that is a big attic. Now, faded posters of Grandpa when he was a young man hung on the walls. He moves some cardboard boxes and a rack of Grandma's winter dresses out of the way, and we see a dusty brown leather-trimmed trunk in the corner. As soon as Grandpa opens it, the smell of cedar chips and old things that he saved fills the attic. Inside are his shoes with the silver half-moon tips on the toes and the heels. So those are called tap shoes. They actually have little bits of metal on the toes and the heels. And a bowler hat, and top hats and vests and stripes and matching bows, and he dresses all of them up. We try on the hats and we pretend we're dancing on a vaudeville stage with the bright lights twinkle, and the piano player nods his head along with the music. Looks like Grandpa saved a lot of stuff. After wiping his shoes with a cloth that he calls a chamois, Grandpa puts them on. He tucks small white pads inside his shoes so that his feet don't rub. And he turns on the lamps and aims each one down like a little spotlight. He sprinkles a little powder on the floor as if it's showtime. And we sit on Grandma's woolen blankets, clap our hands, and call out, "Yay, Grandpa!" Now, the song and dance man begins to dance the old soft shoe. He moves his feet slowly at first, while his tap shoes make soft, slippery sounds like rain on a tin roof. We forget that it's Grandpa dancing, and all we can hear is the silvery tap of his 2 feet, and all we can see is the song and dance man gliding across the vaudeville stage. He says, "Watch this," and he does a new step that sounds like a woodpecker tapping on the tree. Suddenly his shoes move faster, and he begins to sing. His voice is round and strong like a canyon echo, and his cheeks get all rosy as he sings Yankee Doodle Boy, a song he knows from the good old days. There's Grandpa singing and dancing. There are too many dance steps and too many words in the song for us to remember, but the show is better than any show on TV. I think it's because it's Grandpa. The song and dance man stops and leans forward with a wink. "What's that in your ear?" he asks, and he pulls out a silver dollar out of somebody's hair. Looks like there's some magic involved too. He rolls his bowler hat down his arm and catches it in his hand and flips it back on his head. You know how to make an elephant float? He asks. 1 scoop of ice cream, 2 squirts of soda, and 3 scoops of elephant. Now, we've heard the joke before, but the song and dance man slaps his knee and laughs until his eyes begin to water. Sometimes Grandpa's jokes aren't necessarily that great, but they're fun anyway. He tries to wipe them with his red hanky vest from his pocket, but the hanky just gets longer. The handkerchief just gets longer and longer as he pulls it out. He looks so surprised that we start laughing too, and it feels like the whole attic is shaking. Sometimes we laugh so hard that hiccups start, and Grandpa stops to bring us a glass of water from the bathroom. Drink slow and hold your breath, he says, or I'll have to scare you. Trying to get rid of the hiccups. Once our hiccups are gone, he gets a gold-tipped cane and a black silver top hat from the trunk. He lowers his eyes and the tip of his hat, and he's standing very still. All the lights are turned low except the one that shines on his polished tap shoes. It's the grand finale. So the song and dance man takes a deep breath, and he lifts his cane and holds it in both hands. Slowly he starts to tap. His shoes move faster and faster, and the sound coming from them are too many to make with only 2 feet. He spins and he jumps into the air, touching the stage again. He kneels with his arms spread out, and the silk top hat and the gold-tipped cane lie side by side at his feet. His shoes are still, and the show is over. We stand up together and we clap our hands, shouting, "Hooray!" and more, but Grandpa only smiles and shakes his head. All out of breath, he takes off his tap shoes, wraps them gently in the chamois cloth, and puts them back in the leather-trimmed trunk. He carefully folds his vest and lays the top hat and cane on it, and we follow him to the stairway. Grandpa holds onto the rail as we go down the steps. At the bottom, he hugs us, and we tell him we wish we could have seen him dance in the good old days, the song and dance days. He smiles and whispered that he wouldn't trade a million good old days for the days that he spends with us. But as he turns off the attic light, Grandpa glances back up the stairs, and we wonder how much he really misses that time on the vaudeville stage when he was a song and dance man. The end. So, what I think is pretty cool is sometimes you kind of forget that grandpas weren't always grandpas. That sometimes grandpas did some pretty interesting things when they weren't grandpas, when they were younger. So maybe this would be a great time to ask your grandpa, what did he do when he was younger? And he might tell you some surprising things. Now, that doesn't mean you can't ask Grandma, too, because you can always ask Grandma, and Grandma probably did some interesting things before she was a grandma, because that's how life is. So, until next time, everyone, have a great day, and everybody stay safe. Bye.